In June, as I was minding my own business, playing the Elden Ring DLC instead of working on making videos to my YouTube channel, a certain Conlangery decided to host the Conlang Relay. If you want a description of what that is, go check out the channel in the description below. Either way, this seemed fun, and I decided to join. Not realizing that this was all a clever ruse by Conlangery to cause as much mental anguish and torment on me as possible, as they decided to place me after Eternal's Ultra French, which means I have to turn this mess into English and then my own beautiful tongue of Éri-n'Dog. Now, I'm not going to go into detail as to how exactly I translated this, but just know it took 3 days and a lot of crying at my computer. However, by the end of it all, I got this text into English, and, what? That child river? The river's voice be heard? I will do what to the river so I flow? What is this nonsense? Eternal said that was nonsense by the time they got it, but I don't know if it was this nonsensical. Either way, I had an English translation. All I need to do now is translate it into my own Conlang, and then I can send it on to the next person. So the Conlang I've decided to use in this relay is one I'm creating as the common tongue of the Fey Nation in the world I'm creating, Éri-n'Dog, with the resulting translation looking a little like this. Catlamachan shunes kapelzin, ane quachan ragluthu, balhelzigen tunes ti kalpelzin, mornachan ta charushirnes, ta tlil doruk, dirkomachan mutnes, ta deihut. Geo kanomichen, ta charuchnes, ti fold jiter linkav, chariachan tunes tier, podad vikong bilas mar ta doruk. Sunadan vanes, dolade cher ti foldes, te doga va doruk, tagas paru, dogae asva. Rakodogahan, ide felzinesir, nesta doruk chenarv, mornacha tuas, tilongartha klil, dogahan, ta felsazir, nega, ganera ungarasmar, doflanchet, su dhanashlunas, sivuch thogeder, dogahan ta felsazirnes, ragravo vikonas, mona te felsazirane buchthogan, thalleongwa ektaga, suramas tsi tlongar ramor nachu, folda ta kritagaek, peldade ta gen, tsi buch zoje ta felsazir igalta, ta krisu ramas, tsi vuch zoje, a the vequine, dirnasle pelde, te sante felsaziran, mornacha tu aga, tsi longauk, suvashenas, tsi vuch zojir. Podul, rakalse quo te lia dagas, maka ta krisamu, tsi pliag, kodzi longas sever, al hluf tausam, fer ivasse sikrim. Now, of course, I didn't just send this off to the next victim like this. I also included a neat little glossary and some grammatical notes. I'm also not just going to show you the text and call it a day. I'm also going to show you how Éri-n'Dog works. You might notice all these little nesses and the us scattered about basically every sentence. Those are the copulaic verb to be, but in most of these cases, it's the aspectual marker. See, Éri-n'Dog is technically VSO, with the main verb coming first in the sentence. The main verb must also agree with the subject and gender, either lunar, solar, or stellar. But in a sentence with just the verb and the subject, the sentence as a whole is taken to be in the nomic aspect. To take it out of the nomic, a modal verb is acquired, with the copula to be being used for the indicative. The main verb can also inflect to show a past, non-past distinction, as well as statement or question forms. And the modal auxiliary further inflects for an imperfective versus perfective distinction. The two final things to remember about the verbs is that in the subjunctive, ga is placed where the auxiliary goes if there is no auxiliary, or suffix to the auxiliary if there is one, and that if both the subject and the object are of the same rank in the nominal hierarchy, but the object comes before the subject, then the inverse marker ra is added. Moving on to the nouns and adjectives, the first thing to know is that Éri-n'Dog has consonant mutations. It also has 4 cases and 3 genders. The lunar and solar genders, made up of the animate and inanimate nouns respectively, have a singular, dual, and plural forms, with the stellar gender being made up of mass nouns and collectives. There are also 3 things to watch out for with nouns and adjectives, aside from the consonant mutations. The first is that possessed nouns only retain their final s when modified by a preposition. When they are possessed, the possessor follows the possessed with the s dropping away and uniting the following definite article. The second is that the dual is only marked on the noun, and in some archaic writing, the auxiliary verb. For most speakers, the dual aligns with the singular, though some localities take plural marking instead. Finally, is that adjectives take the same endings as a definite article when they solely modify the noun. If there are multiple adjectives, only one goes before the noun and agrees in gender, with the rest following in the dictionary form. If the noun is modified by a definite article, then all the adjectives are placed after the noun in dictionary form. All mutations that affect the noun also affect all adjectives unless the adjective comes before the noun. And that's actually about it. Now obviously there's more to the language than that. And I'll leave the torch I passed with a gloss in the description for those who want to check it out. But that's all the basics of the language. Granted, it might not seem like much, and that's partly because I was actually in the middle of a fairly large revamp when the torch was passed to me. I'm actually still revamping the language as we speak. But either way, thank you to George for inviting me, and I'm sorry to Lichen for all the mistakes I accidentally made for my own Conlang. I hope it didn't mess you up too much.